Craig, good to stop and chat with you again. Every time. So you got a new publication out. Seems like you've always got something new every time I speak to you. So tell us a bit about this publication.
So this recent publication, it was some research that I did, I would say about 18 months ago. At the time, you remember Birmingham, all of these articles came out, Birmingham being a gun crime capital for 2 consecutive years, and what is the response of youth workers. So I remember it was 2017, a young person of mine got murdered in inner city Birmingham. And I called an emergency meeting. And that emergency meeting was specifically for frontline professionals that are really at the heart of working on this agenda. Because one of the things I understand, I'm not the only person in the Midlands that does this work. You've got youth workers, you've got social workers, you've got probation officers, youth offending officers, you've got parents, religious leaders, you've just got members of the community, business people that are invested with working with young people and might not be in the front line or in the newspapers or on the public domain, but there's effective people that are doing this work in the community. So I called a emergency meeting, and I wanted to do 2 things. Number one, to kind of establish who in the region is doing this work, meaning who are the people on the front line engaging with individuals. The second thing that I wanted to know is, what is it that we think as frontline youth work practitioners, how can we effectively work with young people that are involved in carrying knives, carrying guns, prepared to hurt people, and what kind of ways can we use our knowledge and expertise to engage? So 30 people showed up, 30 people that again were from education, from community, those that were teachers, pastoral managers, those that worked in criminal justice, frontline workers. So in that meeting, obviously, I said we discussed some of the strategies of how we could engage with young people, but I wanted to understand, well, what makes an frontline worker? Because we talk about traditional youth work, and one of the arguments that we were challenging is this idea about working 9 to 5, 9 to 6 is not engaging with the right people. So I said, but what does that look like? So I did a series of questionnaires and got them to question a series of things and got them to look at some of the top 10 things that they would need in order to engage with young people that are affected by or engaged in certain types of behaviors. So one of the things that I was drawn to was a theoretical perspective that was written by one of my mentors, Dr Martin Glynn. And in his book, Black Men, Invisibility and Crime, he has a section called On Road Criminology. And he talks about working with individuals that are in non-traditional spaces. So for example, you might be in Asda. You're in Asda, you're at the car wash, you're at a restaurant with your family, and a young person comes up to you and starts talking about issues that essentially are impacting them and issues that are affecting them, and the idea of you helping them with whatever issue that they're dealing with. So I kind of looked at that and thought that it wasn't exclusive to criminology, it wasn't exclusive to social scientists. So can some of those perspectives and the idea of what on road criminology is about, can that be applied to youth work? So I argued, yes, it can, based on the narratives that came from these frontline workers. So they would say things like how many times that I'd be on the road and I'm with my family and young people come up and start talking about that they need help right now, and I've had to give my wife, my children the car, and I've had to drive off while I continue working with that person. And I reflect on a lot of the perspectives that I've been in. I've been with my family in Nando's. A young person comes in and says, yo, Craig, I need help right now. I'm in court, 2 days time. I need someone to help me. I need someone to explain to these people. And it gets real.
It's never ending.
Might be in, I don't know, going to Asda. It's happened to me many times before. You know, I just want to go and buy a smoothie. I just want to, buy some fruit and have a look around. And then you have young people that are really concerned, or a parent that comes to me and says, I need help with my daughter, or I need help with my son. So a lot of those narratives that was coming out in that discussion reflected the theoretical perspective that Dr. Martin Glynn was framing in his book about this concept of on-road criminology. So with the research that I had done, I thought, let me come up with a theoretical perspective or a concept. And not use the word criminology, but use on-road youth work. Because what these individuals were saying and their interaction with individuals that were violent, their interactions with individuals that were involved in certain types of behaviors, were all saying, you know what, this is what we're doing. So the key things that I was trying to pull out from this publication is, number one, to kind of give a understanding of what's going on in the Midlands in context in terms of the levels of violence, the statistics from the Office of National Statistics. Also to kind of give a picture of the history of Birmingham in terms of gun violence. We kind of led to believe that gang violence or gun violence only started with two groups of notorious gangs within the inner city. And historically, that's actually inaccurate. So I kind of give a snapshot of that. But most importantly, it's about this concept of traditional youth work versus on-road criminology or on-road youth work. And can this be applied in areas where young people are violent, where young people are impacted by gangs, impacted by radicalization, impacted by extremism or other forms of criminality? So essentially, that's what it's about. It's to get people to think outside of the traditional ideas that are projected out there, to get people to look at these theoretical perspectives and think, you know what, this can be applied. So, you know, I'm in my PhD stages and it's something that I will test at some point. But I think it's important that we kind of start to find new ways and new strategies of engaging with young people, because traditional and old ways in some aspects is clearly not working and we just need new ways.